Call to order this regular meeting of the Monument Town Council, Monday, March 2nd. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Erickson, will you take roll, please?
Mayor LaKind,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Present.
Councilmember Chronic,
Here.
Councilmember Kimball,
Here.
Councilmember Abbott.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, before us, we have our agenda and our consent agenda. Are there any modifications?
Yeah, I'd like to modify section 10B for the executive session, just to make it clear that we will be coming back out of executive session into public session to discuss a letter that might come out of that. And we're doing the minutes too, right?
Sorry?
We're doing the minutes also, right?
Yeah.
Right. So Tina, on the minutes, and I'll give you this. It references when we were talking about Buc-ee's, and I made a comment that Buc-ee's hasn't submitted a land application, and you put on there, but the property in Palmer Lake is going through administrative lot line adjustment, and it's El Paso County. So, sure.
All right, so we have a motion to modify the agenda,
And pulling the meeting minutes.
pulling the meeting minutes for correction and adding on that we're coming out of executive session to discuss a letter.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All right, that motion passes 7-0. We'll move on to our presentations.
And Mayor, really quick, there are no conflicts of
Oh,
interest.
thank you. Good deal. We have no conflicts tonight. Skip right over that. I just assume that we don't have any conflicts. First up is Terry Hayes with Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce.
Tonight, I'm going to talk about the services that we and myself and the chamber provide to the town. There's a whole separate one that I could do for what the chamber does for businesses and what we do as an organization, but that is not the purpose of tonight. The purpose is to show you what we provide for the town of Monument. Privilege of being in. Also here with me tonight is our board chair, Bill. If questions of either of us, please just interrupt. Say whatever you need and do that. So this is services provided by the Credit Chamber to the town. Next slide. I'm just going to have 15 minutes. I'm going to have about 15 slides. I'm going to try to go through them really quickly for you guys, but again, interrupt me. Yes. Can you speak on?
Thank you. And I'm so much louder now. All right. So the first part, visitor center and operations and tourism management. So as the slide shows, we are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. That is our commitment to be open as a visitor center. Our peak management season, our peak season really runs from about April to October. It used to be May to September, but you know, Colorado, and this year's proving it also, is beautiful weather, especially going into October. So we are slammed in those months with visitors, both visitors that are actual visitors coming into our community and also those that are moving into our community. As you know, our community is growing considerably. There's a lot of new people moving in. There are some people moving out and just a lot of turnover. So a lot of times people will come to us and say, all right, we've unpacked our boxes. What do we need to know now? What about the town? What are fun things to do? Are there newsletters we can get on? All of that kind of information. So the variety of people that come in to see us is very, very wide. We could actually, during peak season, we could see between 20 and 30 people in the chamber on any given day, meaning that is a lot of our staff time helping them. They could be a family, they could be one person. Sometimes it's just, you just never know what they want to ask. Sometimes it's they want to move to the community, so they want us to get our map out and show all the different, this is the area where there's land, this is the area where it's more community good if you have kids and you want to be near other neighbors. Here are townhomes, so we'll go through all of that with our visitors there. Signature downtown events. So the town is considered a President's Council level sponsorship. I want to make that clear that you guys are a sponsor. The name Town of Monument or the logo is on every single thing we do. It is on our e-newsletters. It is on our website. It is verbally mentioned at all of our events. We also have pull-up banners that have Town of Monument, the huge logo right on that. Letterhead, something that people don't think people use anymore. We do use a lot of letterhead. Now, it might be sent via computer and not actually mailed, but we use a ton of letterhead, and you guys are right at the top of our President's Council. Our President's Council is actually a council that doesn't even exist anymore. We shifted how we do our sponsorships and how we do our memberships probably about 4 years ago, but we retained that President's Council, and you guys are grandfathered in for that, but no one else can get a chance to do that. So really, as far as we're concerned, you guys are our big cheese. I mean, that's how we treat you, as you are the biggest supporter of the Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce. Next slide. Oh, I'm on slide 3. Will. Thank you. All right. Tourism advocacy and marketing. The Colorado Destination Stewardship Strategic Planning, that is something that I was involved in very, very early on, and it is headed by the Colorado Tourism Office. The goal of this was to provide resources for communities to attract different visitors for this. So this was years ago. They wanted to pick different people from different communities, so that was something that I had a hand in, and it's a great way for people that are wanting to come to our community to be able to learn more about that. Visit COS. So Visit COS, I've been a partnership committee for them for years. They are a visitor center, and even though they are centered in Colorado Springs, they operate as Pikes Peak region, truly. So only a handful of our members are probably members of Visit COS, and those are the ones that actually get on their website. However, with my sitting on the committee, they are very good about making sure that there's a whole section on there for the Tri-Lakes area. And of course, Monument is the one that is up there as the main town of our region up here. So we regularly go over that with them. Anytime they have a question, they come to me to make sure something's accurate. We make sure the events that come up here are on there. And then, of course, the handful of businesses that are in our community are listed there also, because the goal is to get people here. If they're coming to Colorado Springs for a conference, or if they're coming here for a family vacation, we want them up here for at least a day trip, because we just want those visitors and let them get out of the big city for a while. The Pikes Peak Outdoor Regional Alliance. This is a group that I know that there is, every once in a while, there's someone from the town. Yes. I'm still on tourism. I will say next slide. How about that, Will? Yes, that is the correct one. The Pikes Peak Outdoor Regional Alliance, I do know that there is a member or two that will attend that for the town of Monument every once in a while, but I am the other person that attends those. The biggest goal is we're trying to get that organization to come up with some really good trail maps and some information up here. If you guys have ever gone trail hiking, a lot of them are not real trails. Some of them are social trails, and they want to make sure that the visitors know which ones are the proper ones and where to go. And a lot of our visitors do not want to use the apps. We show them which apps would be able to show them, but they're like, no, we don't want to do this. Or maybe they have a service that isn't quite there. So we had a meeting up here of the committee, and they said that that was one of their goals for this year, was to try to come up with not just ours, all regional maps, but that is probably one of our number one requests that we get. So we try to pay attention to the requests that our visitors get, and we're trying to meet their needs. Marketing and impact, $40,000 monument marketing impact. This was courtesy of COVID funds. So we had the opportunity to apply for some marketing grant funds, and we applied only for the town of Monument. We did not apply for Tri-Lakes area. We did not apply for Palmer Lake. We applied only for Monument. So we used that 40,000 during that time to, one of the things, if you've been to our building, we have a blue paper holder of things out front. That was one of the things we bought, because with COVID, people couldn't come in and get the newspapers. They couldn't come in and get the flyers they needed. They couldn't come in, like the Monument 2040 postcards are in there. So that was a great thing that came out of it. And then we also had paid advertisement, quite a bit of paid advertisements for the town of Monument during that time, just to try to get people, especially if they were home and they weren't quite getting out, we wanted them to think of a place that they wanted to definitely go to once they got out of their homes. And then twice a year, we gave away Rocky Mountain Vibes tickets. That seems a bit odd, but the reason why is because they have to come to downtown Monument to pick them up. We gave 1,000 of them away for 2 years. We would still be giving them away this year if they still existed, but unfortunately they do not. But this is just representational of many things that we try to do that will bring people into Monument, downtown Monument, that normally maybe would not have come here just to pick up things or do other things. And then the goal is once they get here, everybody's like, oh, Monument is such a cute little town. I never knew. I said, well, that's the purpose. Next slide. Downtown Monument Business Management. So the history of this group, it's been around for over 25 years, and it's been run by its own merchants. We're running it. But over that 25 years, and I've been in this job almost 15, and in that entire time that I have been here, it's been up and down. It's waned. It's been really active. It's, kind of looked like on the verge of collapsing, but then some new business owner will come in and have a bunch of energy and it'll get going again. And I've just kind of watched that over the years. It finally, about 3 to 4 years ago, got to the point that I knew it was going to dissolve. There was no business owner that was going to be stepping up. And it wasn't because they didn't want to, it's because they don't have time. They have businesses to run. They're in their businesses all day. And then afterwards, they've got the marketing, they've got the ordering to do, they've got everything else that they have to do. So we, as a chamber, I knew that this was important. You cannot have a downtown that isn't cohesive and works together. Plus, the downtown runs a whole bunch of events. And without those events, I think that would be a problem also. We could not lose Art Hop. We couldn't lose No Boys Allowed, Safe Trick or Treat, Small Business Saturday, Holiday Open House, and Small Town Christmas. And this is not counting the fact that there's actually a lot of merchants that will get together because they have a relationship with each other because of this group. They get together and might have little mini little things that they do. 2 or 3 businesses that get together and they'll do a special thing for a weekend, all to drive traffic to downtown. So we saw the need, and I just said, we've got to step up and take this over. So we are management of it. We do all the back of the house stuff. We design the posters. We get the posters out. We do all the social media. We purchase ads in the newspapers specifically for Art Hop. And we are the ones that really wanted to keep this group going because we knew economically this is super important to Monument to have this done. All right, next slide. Oh, I already covered this. Event posters and social media management. So yes, we do all of that. Also, there's we have the downtown merchants as part of our website. They're all part of an app called Group Me, because that's apparently the way that they prefer to communicate with each other is via text. And this app allows us to do that. And it's not only just, what's going to go on with events. It could be, we had someone in here, this happened a couple of years ago, that is causing some problems, and we wanted to let the rest of the merchants know. It wasn't to the point of, having to call police or anything yet, but they just let everybody else know. Snow days, who's open, who's not, is just a fabulous way, and we manage that app for them. One of the things I want to point out is mid-year, when you guys were talking, the sales tax dollars were down about 13%. At that point, the next merchant meeting that we had, we do a Zoom meeting every first Wednesday of the month, which is going to come up this Wednesday from 8 until 9. And I asked them, how are you guys doing? Are you down? What are you looking like? And of course, every business wants to be up. They were actually very happy to say, we're flat, which does not get a smile out of anybody to say we're flat on sales. But when the rest of the town is down, that we all were very proud that the downtown was holding its own and keeping flat during this time. And it has stayed. I understand I talked to Jennifer and she said that for the year, you guys were about 6% down. And they're still about flat, a little, slightly over. Some of them were slightly over. Some businesses get a little more business than some of the others. But in general, they were pretty flat. So that is one of our goals, is to make sure that when there's downturns, that we are there to help support them so that they aren't experiencing some of those downturns. We also make sure we have guest speakers. Like we had Kelly, the community resource officer, come and talk to them about how to keep your businesses safe. I know that there's been a couple of break-ins, but it's been a few years since we've had any downtown that is aware where a door was busted and had to be boarded up. That is super important. The last thing we need is residents coming downtown and seeing something like that happen, and then they get worried. So our businesses are doing everything they can to try to help keep themselves safe, and also that reflects on the town overall. Our goal is just to also retain as many businesses as we can downtown. That has always been our goal, to help save as many as we can. We can't always, but when we can, we're super, super excited about it. All right, next slide. Economic development. We are contacted all the time about businesses that are by businesses that want to know, is there buildings for lease, buildings for to own. I will say most of them are owning now. I think business owners are kind of wising up to the fact that economically it's smart to own your own business or own your own building, because then you're in control of your monthly expenses and you're not at the mercy of some landlord. But unfortunately, that can't always happen. So many of our vacancies are not listed on the MLS. And so it's really good that most of the building owners, I know their contact information. So if someone that I think would be a good fit for them, I'll call them and say, do you have any vacancies, or is there one coming up? Because a lot of times when there is, they don't tell anybody because they're very selective about who's going to go into those spots. So that's where I get a chance to reach out to them if they have a space. And I think that I mentioned to them the type of business that is looking. And if they're interested, then I put them together and hopefully we fill a space, because it's all about how particular and how, I'm not going to say guarded, I'm going to say protective, how protective of the monument area a lot of our business owners are. And they don't want just anybody moving in here, and they want to make sure that it's going to be somebody that's going to add value to the town. One of the things that happened was back when, I think a lot of you were not on the council then, but you were probably aware that where the Flying Horse Medical is downtown, it used to be a daycare, and then it went up for sale. I knew the commercial real estate agent very well, and we talked about what would be really good to go in there. And at one point he's like, he goes, I've got like 2 churches. Nothing against churches, but that's economically is not the best for a town, especially to have a church downtown, because of it just takes away sales tax dollars, it takes away property taxes, all of that. So I just really had a conversation with him. I said, the town needs something else in that space. And so he worked really hard, and that's when the Flying Horse Medical came in. Now, unfortunately, then the building had to be torn down and they had to build it up again. But you know what? A church couldn't have afforded to do that. So he was able to do it. And now there's 3 or 4 businesses in that building that are adding to the downtown arena. So they're just little things like that behind the scenes of things that we have a hand in, a lot of different conversations. We assist businesses when they're trying to woo an employee to move here. We've helped J-Bill do this, and actually Johnson & Johnson before J-Bill. So a lot of times they're trying to woo. We're still on still on slide 6. They're trying to bring engineers, they're trying to bring other people in from out of the community, meaning they're trying to convince their whole entire family to move from one state to another. So I'll send them information on the school district. I'll send them information on different housing that's around here. and have a conversation, a lot of times with the spouse. What is it like? What is our culture like here? To let them know this is a great place to move your family, which also helps our local businesses here. Another example of kind of behind the scenes is working with developers. Because I network a lot and I meet a lot of people, there's a group in the Larkspur Castle Rock area that I got to know this gentleman pretty well. And he's actually part owner of a brewery in Castle Rock. And so he reached out to me one day because I'm the only person he knew down here and said, you know what, we're looking to expand. We want to expand to Monument. I'm like, yay, that'd be great. So talked about all the different areas that were available. I described all the commercial areas of where they could go and what maybe felt the best to them. And it turns out it was going to be on Jackson Creek, introduced them to Classic Homes. Unfortunately, after over a year of discussions, it did not work out. They did move down, they did expand down, or they are expanding down in Colorado Springs. That's very common that people will come in, they're interested, we go over a lot, and it just doesn't work. Our Iron Mule Brewery is another example who ended up going up to Castle Rock. They wanted to be in downtown, however, they wanted to be right downtown. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of buildings that can support the equipment it takes to brew beer. So it didn't work out there. But that was over a year discussion too, of trying to keep an eye out for things that would come up and let them know about things. The commercial building, the big empty warehouse that is on the northwest side of Baptist Road and the freeway. That building has been empty for quite some time. They've told me they only want to lease to 1 or 2 people, which is why they're not subleasing it, because otherwise there'd be a ton of people that would already be in there and have it leased out. So I would have thought they already would have been connected with OEdit, but they weren't. So I know the town gets the notifications too. I get the notifications of when they put out requests for information. Is there a place that this company who wants to come in from out of state wants to go? Forwarded it to them. And although that particular one didn't work, because sometimes you're up against 3 or 4 other states, it's a numbers game a lot of times. They are now connected with OEdit. So I'm hoping soon somebody will jump on it and move into that building and get things going. So it's just, we're all about connecting. We're all about putting the people together that need to talk together in the same room. All right, next slide. Oh, I did forget on the last one, but you can see it there is I also serve as chair of the Southern Colorado Business Partnership and also as chair of now this year of the Colorado State Chamber Alliance, which is our state chamber. It's a subgroup under the Colorado Chamber, and both are super excellent for getting information about economic development and what's new coming up. What kinds of things are you seeing in your communities? And it kind of just helps me keep up on things for us here in our community. All right, Economic Development Leadership. EDCC is our State Economic Development Council. I was lucky enough to go through the basic economic development course with Madeline. We were there as a week long up in Denver, kind of in the beginning of all of this. We are a member of the Economic Development Council of Colorado, again, to keep us up on things that are going on in the economic world. They will send out notices. They have regional meetings. And when it's appropriate, we do attend because we want to keep up on what's going on in our community. The go-between role. So sometimes I'm asked to insert myself between a business and the town, and I'll be honest, sometimes I insert myself. if it's a situation that I think needs, maybe if both sides aren't quite meeting in the middle, or it's just miscommunication. It's not because anybody has any, problems or anything. It's just misunderstandings. And sometimes it just helps to have that third person come in and maybe explain it a different way. Am I always successful? Our goal is always going to be to save the business. That is always going to be my goal. Unfortunately, it does not always happen, and it really hurts me when that happens, but it is always our goal that we will try to do whatever we can. It could be simple as several years ago, one of our downtown businesses were like, where is my permit? It was with way previous planning people than probably, 4 planning directors ago. And they're like, we've been waiting forever. We've been calling. No one's getting us our permit. I place a call because I'm so happy and so lucky that I do have a good relationship with the planning department. I give them a call. They go, yeah, it's sitting right here. They went and got it that day. So and again, not this group, but previous planning groups. So sometimes it just takes a phone call. And sometimes I can get through when maybe a business is one of 30 businesses trying to call and get information. And sometimes it just gets noise. So all I want to do is go in and just be the go-between sometimes and do what we can to help solve any problems that we need to solve. I do appreciate that Dan is holding pre-development meetings and he includes me in them. So very happy about that so that we can kind of figure out how are we going to be able to help this business when they want to come into town? Are there ways that we, can assist in any way? Sometimes it's demographics, and it's not just demographics for the town, it's demographics for the whole community. Because this is a very eclectic community. The town of Monument would not be the town of Monument without its surrounding community. You guys have 13,000 people. The surrounding community is more around 50. We know Larkspur people come down here and shop. We know Black Forest comes over. We know all of the Monument people who have Monument as part of their address, but they're actually part of the county. They come into the town to shop. That is why we are lucky enough to have the commercial development that we have, because we have that support around the community. Lastly, we get on social media and state the facts. I love stating the facts. When there is gossip, when there are speculations, I love to get on there and just say, you know what, this is the fact. And it gives me great pleasure when the conversation stops, only because they don't need to speculate anymore. They don't need to wonder. They know exactly what the facts are, and this is what it is. Us as a non-town employee, it's a little bit easier for us to get on there and say those kinds of things that maybe town employees are a little uncomfortable doing, or it's not part of their job, or they just don't want to engage. Because sometimes when you're a town employee, that's hard to engage with the general public. We can fill that space because we are not government. We are our own nonprofit entity. All right. We are on the correct slide. So I don't go around tooting my own horn, and I think that's been almost a problem because I don't talk about enough what we do behind the scenes. But I am going to spend the next couple of minutes tooting my own horn, and that has to do with public safety. So I'm extremely proud of having helped the town pass the half-cent sales tax. To me, safety is paramount in maintaining economic development for any community. So we knew the police department needed more money. They attempted to pass it on their own. They did not. And one of the reasons why most citizens, the first time they heard about it was seeing it on the ballot. So that caused questions. Now, normally people are very pro public safety. And once they get information, they're very willing to support that. But when they didn't hear a whole lot about it, or just not enough to pass it, heard about it, or heard enough about it to make them want to vote for it, it did not pass. I, in passing, mentioned to the police chief at the time, which was Chief Hemingway, and to Mike Foreman, the town manager at the time, I said, if you guys want help next time, let me know. Because the community is our job. We know this community, we're involved in it a lot, and I believed this was important. And we need to do everything we can to help economic development. So they came to me and did ask me for help. I ended up doing more than helping. I ended up running it. I became the registered agent. I raised $7,500 from businesses to pay for those huge poster things, to pay for flyers, to pay for ads, to pay for a website, started a Facebook page, organized the police officers to do shifts at the farmers market and get out in front of the public, get them to events. And we got them out there. In fact, I remember when we were talking about home rule, and I remember you two guys, Steve and Sarah, were at that meeting. I bombarded their meeting. It's like, well, you guys are here. Let me talk about this. So it's kind of how I spent a lot of my time, was helping this. And I am to this day, is probably one of the biggest things that I'm very proud of, is to be able to get that with a glowing passing of over 60%, which is a lot, to pass this half-cent sales tax. So every single year, our police department has more funding to be able to do what they need to do and support the town of Monument. So as you know, or as you could probably figure out, this took a lot of my time away from the chamber running this. This was like a little second job for several months, but we felt it was important enough, and we step up as a chamber. When the community needs us, we step up, and this is how we fulfill. I also served on the Monument Fire Department board for 6 years. I know that they have their own independent, their own special district. They're not under the town. Does not mean that public safety still is not important for our town and that we have a fire department that can support. So during our time, we were able to pass a mill levy while I was on the board. We got a lot of our firefighters a 25% raise to get them up to more to their peers so that turnover was not as high. They were having a problem of someone being there a couple of years, get trained, and they would go to Denver, they go to Colorado Springs. And that helped decrease their turnover, helped bring more money into the department so that they are the department that they are here today. So to me, public safety is by far one of the most important things for any community to be economically viable. Next slide. This is just explaining our rooms. So our main chamber building, we do lease it out to people. We lease it and we let it go for free, depending on who the organization is. So our room here in the main building that we're in can seat up to 70 people in there, and probably probably 80 without any tables, and then about 55 to 60 with tables in that space. We want community space in our community is very limited. If it's a commercial space, there's oftentimes a hefty charge involved in it, and some people just can't afford that. We also have our old building, which is just south of Jarrito Locos. That sat vacant for quite a while, and then we were having a little bit of a problem with homeless. So we went in and we chopped the bushes, we chopped the trees, we tore the shed down, we completely remodeled it, turned it into another community-based building, meaning people can never tell when someone's going to be there and when someone is not. Cut that problem immediately. And it's a second space that we are managing for the community. We make no money off of this. We actually eat money. We do make a tiny bit, $30 for someone that wants to use the space. But the staff time that it takes to manage all of these reservations and the paperwork and giving them the keys, and sometimes I'm being called on a Saturday because they forgot to pick up the keys, so I'm going and meeting them on a Saturday. But this is a very important community service to us, that we are able to provide 2 different community rooms in addition to a conference room. Every once in a while, we'll have a lawyer come down and use a conference room. We do charge non-members, for-profit businesses a little bit more because they should pay more. But we want to take care of our nonprofits. We want to take care of it. We have so many, I think we have most of the HOAs in our community that meet in our buildings because we're a good space for it. We're close, there's parking, and we also have any kind of meeting. We do not allow parties. So when someone wants a 50th birthday party or they want an anniversary, we say no. We are a building for training. We are a building for meetings. We do any kind. We have had sewing groups there, but they were training. They actually had an instructor come in and teach how to sew. So we've just allowed a very wide variety, trying to provide that community service through both the building we're in currently and our previous building. Next slide. So in 2024, we had over 400 groups come into our buildings. We have not done 2025 numbers. It's a lot. We have to literally just go through our calendar and count how many different groups have come in. But 400 uses, and sometimes there's 30, 40, 50 people in these groups. There are thousands of people that we bring into the downtown area and Monument. So it could be they don't even live in the Monument area. They live in outside area of here, but they come into downtown for these meetings. We, again, going back to us stepping up with the downtown merchants, we stepped also when VITA, if you're not familiar with VITA is an organization that helps do tax returns for those that can't afford it. It's a very vital service. They're kind of an offshoot of, can't think of who it is. I'll think of it in a minute. They were housed at Charlie's Cares for a while. They were housed somewhere else, and then they ended up needing a new space. We weren't super thrilled, I'll be honest, because they were in our building for 3 months, like 3 days every single week for 3 months. and we had tons of people come in. We try to get them to go in the side door. They don't, so it takes a lot of staff time. But this was a vital community service that we could not see end because they couldn't find space. So we housed that for 3 years until they were able to find another space to go to. They ended up going to the barn in Woodmore, and I don't know where they're at now, but they're somewhere else. They have on occasion come to us and said, we have a day that we really need another space, and we do allow them to use our space at no charge, of course, because it's a good community service. So we stepped up when there was a need and helped them get on their feet to where they needed to be. SBDC, the last one, SBDC and SCORE. SBDC is a Small Business Development Center, and then SCORE is made up of kind of C-suite people, CEOs, CFOs, COOs that are retired. And now what they're doing is they're volunteering to help small businesses. So both those organizations meet with businesses one-on-one, and we allow SCORE and SBDC to use our conference room anytime that they want. Again, bringing people to the monument area, because we don't necessarily, they can go down to Colorado Springs and meet someone, but if they're in northern Colorado Springs, they don't want to go down there. They'd rather come up to Monument. So we're bringing people in, and we're also helping our local businesses by having access, greater access to SBDC and SCORE. Next slide. So these are the events that we host that are in the town of Monument, within the town of Monument boundaries. We have the 4th of July, obviously we do the street fair and the beer garden. We have Vines and Brews, that is a beer fest. We host the Community and Business Expo over at the Tri-Lakes YMCA. And then also we hosted Concerts in the Park for 4 years. I think a lot of you don't even know that. So the Concerts in the Park were hosted by the Downtown Merchants, part of their Downtown Merchant group. Years and years ago, I've been going to their meetings the entire almost 15 years that I've been doing this job. So that's why I've been very familiar with their ups and downs. It got to the point that they said no more. They didn't have time because they were selling drinks there. They were home making cookies to sell. It was a lot of work the way that they were doing it. So we could not see Concerts in the Park stop. The town at that time was not in a situation to take them over. There was no one else to do it. I stepped up and said, we will do it, because Concerts in the Park was too important to lose. We ran it for 4 years. We did not make any money. We raised barely enough to cover our expenses. And what I mean by expenses, not covering staff time. I'm talking about hard expenses, band expenses, and we had to do a pass the hat and do everything to cover our expenses. So we ran it for 4 years because we didn't want to see it dissolve. Could we keep doing it? It doesn't make sense. Nonprofits, businesses or nonprofits should not be doing things if they aren't situated to be able to continue to do stuff without having any income from it. And for us as a chamber, that was really tough. It was taking staff time away from us being able to raise money to help businesses. So we were able to find someone else that would run it. He did it for a few years, and then someone else did it for a few years, and then the town now does have it taken over. But we just didn't want to see it step away. So another incidence of where the chamber stepped up when there was a need. Next slide, please. We're almost done, I promise. Okay, government relations. So in the past, and again, I've talked past because a lot of you guys have not been on the council for very long, and I know that you don't know my past history a lot of this. The previous version of the comprehensive plan that we did, the one before the most recent one, I was extremely involved with that. The consultant that was hired really relied more on volunteers. We ran the community meetings. We kind of, quizzed them on what they wanted, and just a ton of meetings. It's very different from the last experience that was here, but they really needed hands-on experience or hands-on people to help. And we were right there to do that. Participated a little bit this year, but as I mentioned, the consultants were of a different caliber than the ones that we had before. So it was a whole different experience and didn't quite need as much assistance. I represented for 6 years, I represented the town of Monument for the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. I sat on their CAC, the Community Advisory Committee. This is the committee that decides how to spend millions of dollars on infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, all kinds of things. So obviously I'm there always speaking up for the projects that the town of Monument had submitted to Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. So did that for 6 years. Whenever I say anything for 6 years, that means I termed out, because a lot of times they only let you sit for 2-3-year terms. I also sat on the El Paso County Parks Board for 6 years, and it wouldn't be a super big deal, except there was something pretty big that came up during that time. And this was at a time when El Paso County was not really big into giving away land. Now they're a little more, take it because then we don't have to take care of it, which is fine because a lot of cities are wanting to annex and do that coming in. But back then, giving up land, especially parkland, was kind of like, oh no, we can't do this. So what happened was, this was back when there was a company called Code One, who is in the Water District building now. They were in that building as a business, and they had enough room in their building for everybody to work. They did not have enough parking. They were parking up and down Beacon Lite on the road, and it was causing a problem. And the owner was like, we're going to move. We're going to move this business. And at the time, they were like our 4th or 5th largest employer. That shows you how long ago it was. And 3rd Street Trailhead, behind that building, there was a whole area of just dead grass, not literally dead grass, but just grass area that no one used. It was south of where most of the park is right now. And so we came up with a plan. El Paso County Parks, it started with the committee that I sat on, saying we need to get the county commissioners to agree to donate a part of that land to the town of Monument so that they could turn it into a parking lot. So that is the current parking lot that is behind that building right now. That is how that parking lot came to be. So my fellow people on the board, they were voting no. And they were about ready to call a vote. And I'm like, no, wait, let me explain this to you. Because the person that was explaining it to them to vote was not doing a very good job. So I painted a picture of what this park looked like, the great areas of 3rd Street Park, the park head area, and then the other parts that no one ever used. And I said, this is a great use for a business that really needs it. And so that's how that parking lot came to be, because I was able to convince them of that. And that is why I like to have my fingers in everything. So I still know the people in the Parks Department there. Unfortunately, the second person that I knew there is just turning over. He just retired. But you still keep in touch with them. So you never know when there's something that we need to come to them to ask. So that's why I love being part of all of these committees, because I keep that relationship with them. We also work with local legislators, but honestly, that's probably more of a chamber thing. So we'll move on. Next slide, please. Obviously, we have done tons of letters of recommendation for the town. There's a couple of times back in one of the iterations of the different positions that Madeline has held. She's done things with DOLA projects. She's done things with DCI, the Downtown Colorado Inc., and right there to help her with those because they were super important to the town. Also involved from the start was the CEDS development plan, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. CEDS are super important if you are looking to get federal grants. And this is why it was led by the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. They said, we need an area CEDS plan. And I was the only one represented for this community during the development of that program or of that plan. We talked about everything that was needed. We talked about what was needed up here. I then looked at because I've been involved in so many meetings, what I felt the wishes of Town of Monument would be out of this. I met with the mayor, I met with Mike Foreman together and said, this is what we came up with. Does it look good for the monument section of the CEDS? And then when they went to present it, I do know Madeline went down for a couple of meetings when they were talking about that towards the end. But in the beginning part, I was the only one representing the whole entire northern El Paso County because we needed to make sure that our region was included in this and not them just filling in the holes of what they thought our community needed. All right, next slide. 2 more and we're done. Business education, monthly free educational seminars, that's kind of more chamber oriented also. But it is very important for our businesses. The one thing I'm always been, the minute we started doing these years and years ago, it was my wish, and we have kept that wish, that these are free to attend for everybody. It has nothing to do with chamber membership. You do not have to be a chamber member to join these education series. Again, bringing thousands of people over the years into downtown Monument because we hold those in our building, the education series. And then I'm also the chair. I've been chair for several years of the D38 CTE committee. Very important for our career and technical education. As you know, things have shifted into businesses. Businesses don't necessarily need 4-year degrees anymore. That CTE program, which is led into the Innovation Center, which I know you've been presented on before, is talking about helping all the different sectors that kids can be exposed to see, is this something that they want to learn further? And also just give them a pathway. So certifications are super important right now. The state, I just met with the CTE programmer, and she said that the state is requesting, it's not a mandatory yet of the school districts, but they want every single high school student to either graduate with college classes or a certificate of some sort prior to graduating. So we're on it. I got her in touch with one of our top AI people in the community to talk about AI high school certifications. And we are the resource for a lot of the businesses to help them get these things so that D38, it is so important, again, for economic development, just right up there with public safety. We've got to have a good school district, whether you have kids or not. People are trained. Is it a good school district? If it's not a good school district, you might have trouble selling that house in the future. So we've got to make sure that our school district is doing great. And then we also help them with internships and business partnerships when they come to me and say, we need someone in this industry. Last 2 things, I am chair of the Southern Colorado Business Partner. Oh, I already talked about that. Never mind. Okay, next slide. These are these are my personal goals of things that I still want to accomplish. I want to expand the tourism up here. I want to create, we've already got them started, but they're not quite fine-tuned yet. I want 1-day itineraries, 2-day itineraries, 3-day itineraries for up here. So when people want to know how can we spend our time up here, these are the ways that you can do it and have it all available on our website. I want downtown beautification. I know flowers are going to be a challenge next year. I want to help with that. I want more flowers, less weeds. Drives me crazy when I walk downtown and there are some weeds and some businesses. I want to clean. I don't want to say clean up because that indicates downtown's not clean. It really is. It's great. But there are little areas I think can use some improvement. Kick the rocks back up into the area, cut the weeds, just make things look a little bit better so that we are really that beautiful downtown. Short-term rental tax advocacy. I want to help with that because I am a highly, highly believe that this is something super important. And I think a second time it can get passed with a little more publicity and a little more information and a little more education out to our community because it is a very difficult concept to understand for a lot of people. Retail recruitment is always super important. We sent, I don't know how many people to the downtown, the new buildings downtown, invest in Front Street. And unfortunately, some of them didn't work out, but that's the point. A lot of these things that we put people together, it doesn't always work, but when it does work, it is fantastic. So we are always trying to find different businesses. I've gone into dress shops because we used to have a dress shop downtown that I loved, and then they closed. So I'll go in and shop and say, hey, you looking to, expand into Monument? And sometimes they kind of look into it. And then the last thing is, this is more your guys' decision, is exploring a fee for service, because that is something I have given every town manager in the past. Do you want to be treated as a sponsor, or would you rather have a really written out fee for service, which is very clear for everybody? I've been fine either way. The decision has always been to be more of a sponsor so that the town of Monument's name and logo get out on everywhere, which is fine. But I think the problem with that then is it's been lost, the communication with you guys as to the services that we provide the town. I sometimes feel like I do work for the town, and because it's super important to us. Yes, we're the Tri-Lakes Chamber, but 90% of my time is spent on this town limits, town of Monument, because you have to have a good, healthy town in the middle for the rest of the region to expand and to grow. And the more the outside of the region grows, the more it's going to help the town, because they're all coming in here to shop anyway, which is great. So that is it. The common theme through most of this is staff time. There's a lot of our staff time that we donate, and we don't donate, we dedicate to the town because it's important. we pick topics that are important. We take on things that are important to the town if there's a problem. So we are problem solvers. That really is what we're here to do. And that is the purpose that we serve the town of Monument. Any questions?
Council? Any questions for Terry?
I have one question slash comment. We have a representative here tonight from Palmer Lake and you didn't mention them. Other way.
I'm sorry. You see me. I walked in 2 minutes before and I sat back there. So sorry, I didn't see everybody here.
So you also service Palmer Lake.
Absolutely. We are Tri-Lakes. We serve as northern El Paso County, which also includes northern Colorado Springs, because which Commissioner Weisong will appreciate this. My view is our community, if we want to shop, if we want to eat, if we want to entertain, if it's not here, go south, don't go north. Douglas County does not need our money. Keep the money in El Paso County because that still helps us as a region. So we actively go down to the Interquest exit. And then frankly, we have Larkspur members. We have a couple of Castle Rock members that want to do business in our community. That is why we have members outside of Monument. We have a copy machine company. We don't have one of those up here, but a lot of commercial copy machines that are up here. So we have companies that serve a purpose to this community that we don't have here. And a huge amount of our businesses that are listed as Colorado Springs businesses, what we don't list is our home address because they are people who live in our community. They invest in our chamber because they also want their home prices to stay up. They want our community to be economically viable and they know it's important. And a lot of times they have a service that can be served up here. So we give most of our time to the town. Our businesses are mixed from all over, but they have all different reasons for that. I say you either live here, your business is here, or you want to do business here, or you do business here. Those are the three reasons. I have turned members away because they don't meet one of those three criteria. Because I'm going to tell them, I said, you can join, I can take your money, but I'm telling you right now, I can't help you because you're not tied to the community somehow. That is very important to us, that every single one of our members are tied to us.
Thank you. And thank you, Trustee Yerka, for being here.
Anything else?
Yeah, couple questions. Do you have an established metrics used to effectively measure your return on investment that you for your website analytics, return on ad spending, engagement rate, number of new businesses, stuff like that? Do you have any of that data? Do you have data to show?
I have our website hits. We had over 5 million hits on our website last year. Beyond that, that would be something we would have to look into, but no, we do not actively search those, but I would be absolutely happy to meet with you separately and discuss them, and we'll see how we can maybe come up with some of those numbers.
And then on your presentation, you showed for 2024 that you had 400 different organizations use the downtown.
Not different organizations,
Chamber.
400 meetings were held.
Meetings.
Sometimes they're quarterly, so that would
You
mean
have-
4 of
okay.
them might be the same organization.
And so do you have, but you don't have any numbers for 2025?
No, but I can easily come up with those. We just haven't, we had a state of the region. It's not something we've gone back and looked at the numbers yet, but I can absolutely come up with those.
And do you know how much money was collected?
I can tell you that. I can get that too. It's what I can tell you, where do I have that? We charge chamber members $30 to use our buildings. We let 501c3s use the meeting house at no charge. You do not have to be a chamber member. Any 501c3 can use the meeting house at no charge. They have a very nominal fee for the chamber where we're at now. I think it's $25 for 501c3s. We do charge non-member for-profit businesses $120 because, and we're lucky if we get 1 or 2 a year in that category that use our building. And part of it is that's a massive building to heat. We pay cleaners. Our staff spends a lot of time managing that space. So we're just trying to cover our costs, which we're not even coming close to. But that is why we do charge to try to do this. So a lot of times in the evening on a snowy day, it's costing us a lot to run that heater at night. We turn that sucker down to 58 when we leave during the day, but it gets cranked back up again. And, so we do have expenses that go out because these people use our building, and we do have to have a commercial cleaner.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Terry. Appreciate you spending the time to put that together and sharing all the data with us.
Do have slides for you, but also at the back of it, I included last year, Chief Hemingway wrote a letter. And it was to describe how we assisted in this half cent sales tax, the money that comes. So I didn't want you to just take my word for it.
Great.
Harry,
Thank you.
thank you for doing this. I'd love to see something like this each year. I mean, as long as you're here with us.
I was gonna ask, but I would love to come back and talk about the chamber.
Yeah.
And do one like that and kind of do that. Absolutely. have no
I would
problem
love
doing
that. And I do kind of agree, just because some of us up here are into IT, the metrics and analytics would really, I think, seal the deal for, just figuring out what years were better than others and how, if we're going on an upward incline, so that would be beneficial, at least for me to see.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you
And then maybe
so
I'll
much.
talk with both of you guys separately and just see kind of things you want to see. And we'll see how we can come up with some of those. Okay,
Cool.
thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, got a fun one next. This one is about renaming the road. Not just any road, it's the road. This is the Crossfield Road Renaming Contest. And welcome, Jenna, your first time presenting to us, right?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Good evening. Jenna Gorney, Senior Planner. As you mentioned, I'm here on Fun Business this evening to announce the kickoff to our Rename the Road contest. So the Planning Department, with much support from Portia Herman, is kicking off our community-driven campaign to rename Crossfield Road, also known as Old Denver Road. The discussion regarding renaming the road had begun during the review of a development application for the Connexus property. As part of that development, the Connexus property did a realignment of Old Denver Road, and of course they left the portion of that road that was left between Santa Fe Avenue and Wagon Gap Trail was in need of a new name. The original name Crossfield Road was assigned initially, and Town Council has expressed that they have a desire to formally rename that portion of the roadway. In response to council's direction, staff has developed a structured and community-focused process for selecting the new name. Rather than selecting a name internally, staff is proposing a public engagement process to invite residents to submit their own suggestions. This approach is intended to encourage broad participation and identify a name that reflects monuments, community identity, natural surroundings, and our character and history. Members of the community that would like to participate, we're beginning the campaign next Monday, and you can visit the town's website. On the left-hand side, you'll find the little tab for the Rename Your Road contest, and you'll see there you'll fill out a short form just to verify that you live in the community, and you will be prompted to suggest 3 names. We have a map that will also be online. It'll be slightly altered from this, but similar layout, that will show that the western portion is the portion of the road that will be renamed. On the website, you'll also find 2 links to 2 documents, a very digestible, frequently asked questions, as well as a kind of edited version of the qualifications for road names within the community. Staff will take those in and evaluate those at the end of the 3-week campaign, which we will be taking the suggestions during. And we will review those against El Paso County's 911, as well as our internal road naming list that we got from the county that shows the names that have already been reserved or already taken. And ultimately, the campaign will follow a 7-week timeline. As I mentioned, during that first 3 weeks, we'll be taking those suggestions. You can do them online, or you can even stop in at our planning department near the front of the building, and we'll have forms printed out for you, and you can just leave them right there. During the 4th week, staff will review those submissions against the criteria I mentioned. During week 5, staff will
Good evening, Commissioner Weissong.
Talk about a resolution, on County Commissioner District 3, which is the west side of, for the most part. Talking, they can hear you. Okay. And at the same time, chair of the Fountain Creek Watershed District. Very happy to formally and publicly state that a couple weeks ago, we passed the resolution 2026-2, which is the monument adoption of the modifications, I guess, would be the best way to claim for the state statute governing who is on the watershed district board. And I just wanted to read just this first paragraph. The Board of Directors, Fountain Creek Watershed District, the Fountain Creek Watershed District resolution supporting legislation proposed by the Town of Monument to add 2 members to the Board of Directors. Reason there's 2 is that we're trying to keep the balance between Pueblo County and El Paso County. And so we had to kind of make sure that we adopted. And this was passed unanimously, 8-0 vote. And we have 9 members, but 1 was excused due to another commitment. But the main thing is that Monument is growing. It is at basically the head of Monument Creek, along with Popper Lake. And there's more and more activities that are going to be happening in this particular area, and feel that it's really important that Monument actually has a permanent seat at the board. And then the other 3 small municipalities will have the option to rotate through. And so now the purpose is going to be to try to get a state legislature to take this on and help shepherd that through and get it passed. The best thing that we all have going for it is that there's no appropriations required. Unless in the conversations that happen outside of the preview of the board, that there's some kind of request for some other funding, which I don't think will happen. But not this year. That is true. So it is a great honor and privilege to be able to have helped get this thing shepherd through. This was presented to the board in November when the mayor was there, basically explaining to the board what value they can bring. And we were able to get that all passed, put together through a couple of iterations. So resolution 2026-2 from the Fountain Creek Watershed District is providing this resolution and support for Monument to hopefully we'll get a legislature again, like I said, to support this effort. So that's item 1. Item 2, I did have Tina put together or provide a copy of the map for those that I didn't have an ability to get it to put up on the overhead. We've got a concern coming up that is the mountain pine beetle. It is getting ready to ravish the front range. The governor signed Executive Order 2025-001, saying that overflights of the area, they found the beetle has got a good foothold, and we need to do something. And here's what I find very interesting, and some of this will be an editorial comment, but I think it's appropriate. The governor encourages all local, state, and federal entities to go above and beyond to address this outbreak and to act with urgency. With the respective abilities and independent of this task force, as well as collectively through this collaboratively, through this task force. So the task force was basically stood up by Saturday. Then they have until June 30th to actually put a comprehensive work plan together of how the state is going to deal with this outbreak. My concern is there's no funding anywhere. So if you have conversations with anyone up in Denver, I just ask that you kind of bring it up. I did talk to the minority leader via email, got a response back stating that it is on their radar, but they're waiting for the task force, since it was just completed on Saturday, to kind of come up with what they want to do. However, we know that I think it's May 14th that the legislative session ends. So if they wait until they get the comprehensive plan put together, they would have to call a special session, which doesn't make sense. So the key is this is just a awareness. We have a problem. It's been identified. Now we need to figure out what we're going to need to do. I'm promoting this as the county commissioner, and I'm just trying to let everyone know what's going on so it doesn't catch anyone by surprise. So with that, any questions on either the resolution or the pine beetle? You bet. Thank you.
Statute. So I do want to thank you for support on.
No, you bet. And I'm was happy to do that. And we just now need to try to find that sponsor to shepherd it through. Being that this is a nonpartisan, non-financial appropriation required, I'm hoping that this should be just a quick, nothing's ever a formality, but hopefully it will be as close to that as possible. That too.
Everything on that end of it goes in our favor, but.
And whatever the board can do to help, we'll be there to see what we can do.
And wildfires, you have personal experience, and I'm sure that's what motivates us, but you bring a lot of good information to us regarding evacuation, issues, and things like that, and I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and just it's one of those things that if we completely lose our front range forest, now you've got a lot of fuel that's sitting there or standing, along with just our unhealthy forest in general right now. It could be catastrophic to the front range. So it's trying to get in there, do as much as we can now. We're trying to do fire mitigation. Okay, let's see if we can add beetle mitigation to that. We got a much narrow window to work from, but anything will help.
People also, we do what we can to get that word out. I used to live up in Conifer years ago, and we had beetle issues up there, and it took out.
That is correct. And the hardest part is going to be for some of those citizens in either the town or in the county that may not be as nimble, being able to walk around their property and look for signs. Uh, But infected trees have to be disposed of properly. Otherwise, you're just, you're not getting rid of them. You may think if you cut down a tree, but they need to be properly disposed of. And there's different companies. I was just talking with Tall Timbers this afternoon, and it's they're aware of it, and they're trying to, all right, what do we need to do? Hopefully, there's a local arborist here that can actually help citizens in this area too. Great, thank you.
And before you go, I want to thank you and the opportunity to speak at that meeting in November for the rest of the members. And I appreciate that the was able to properly put the modifications to the legislation that I submitted in proper that, and don't ask me to write any legislation. At least that was my first go at it. So, but and I do appreciate his participation in that and willingness to communicate back and forth with me, and certainly the rest of the district board members for taking it up and championing this thing forward. So, thank you.
Well, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Oops, are we playing tag? You're okay. Okay, thank you.
Mike's the audience, but he said it might take some year. So 20.
Okay. Can you hear me, Will? Ordinances, we've got 103/2026, an ordinance prohibiting installation of gray water treatment works. I will let you finish reading the rest of that, Mr. Tharnish, as we go through this, or whoever
Sure.
makes a motion.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The ordinance you have before you tonight is an ordinance that would prohibit the installation of gray water treatment works and the associated use of gray water within the Town of Monuments water service area. One of the questions that comes up when the subject of when gray water comes up is, what is that? And I can tell you a short definition from CDPHE Reg 86, which is the state public health. And basically it says that sources of gray water are limited to discharges from bathroom and laundry room sinks, bathtubs, showers, and laundry machines. Gray water does not include wastewater from toilets, urinals, kitchen sinks, dishwashers, or non-laundry utility sinks. I know that's a big mouthful to absorb, but the idea is that this is water that is not related to toilets, as most people think. This is water that the state has passed a House bill that says you can utilize that water for what they call beneficial uses. In other words, if you were to construct a piping system in your house and route that water out, you could reuse that water for watering your lawn, for example. After talking to other municipalities and trying to get our hands on this, we had our water attorney weigh in on it. We've come up with a very similar situation that the town or city of Fountain found themselves in. And late last year, I think our last meeting of the year or thereabouts, city of Fountain passed a very similar resolution instead of an ordinance to prohibit the same thing that we're going to try to do tonight. We've done a little research or due diligence, as we call it. Pikes Peak Regional Building has said they are not set up to permit gray water works. Monument Sanitation District has also expressed an opposition to the use of gray water within their service area. And there's also some health concerns about that, because if this is water that somebody's going to construct and put out on their lawns, there's things that are in it that they don't mention, but there's surfactants, there's other things that come out of your laundries and your kitchen sinks, so on and so forth. The whole idea behind this is to take some preemptive action. Right now, we're not aware of anybody within our service area that is utilizing this, and this would most likely affect new development, because to make it effective, it would most likely have to be a new construction where different piping is routed. And then they don't tell the details, but my guess is you'd have to have some kind of a holding tank, maybe buried in your basement or your yard, and then pump that water out for uses other than drinking water. There's also concerns about potential backflow problems. So we would have to research looking at making sure we have stronger backflow protection to prevent any of that coming back into our system. So the ordinance you have in front of you tonight has been reviewed by the town attorney, and we are in a position here where we're going to recommend the prohibition of gray water treatment and the associated gray water uses. And I think I covered basically everything about that. Is there any questions concerning this particular topic?
Anybody on council who wants to install a gray water system, please ask Tom right now.
But I have a question. Have we talked to Woodmore, who provides water to Village Center, and Triview, who provides water to residents in the
We
town limits?
have not. We've really been talking with City of Fountain, because they had the best laid out when they put out their resolution in the regional building, and I've talked to Monument Sanitation. But the other districts, because we're only supplying the west side of I-25 and they're separate independent water systems, I don't know what their plan is. I mean, I can look into that to see if they have plans for that. But being that they're Title 32 special districts, I don't know what the legal ramifications is.
We don't control them.
But
Right.
this ordinance is for the town though. Wouldn't it cover Triview?
Town's
that's why
water
I'm-
service area,
Yeah, because it should,
For the town or for the town's water?
water service area only.
So it's the town's water service area,
Okay.
not the town.
because my concern, and Tom can correct me as he wishes. This could potentially significantly affect a wastewater treatment plant, because you have, hypothetically speaking, if there are gray water systems, you're pulling water out of that wastewater system. And now that wastewater plant has to add water because there's not enough water in the wastewater to process all the stuff.
I'm sure that Tom could probably reach out to Woodmore and Triview and say, mimic our ordinance.
Yes,
but they have to, so the other districts have to abide by 24-13-62. That's
the House bill.
the House bill.
Can we make, this is for the town attorney, can we make the ordinance for all of the town? Or no, we can only affect the area that we service? Okay,
Do you
Yeah,
want-
that's not a bad idea.
If you want, we can continue this until we have all the information.
When's the drop dead date on this?
yeah,
There's not a drop dead date. It went into effect at the beginning of the year. So we're a little behind as far as the timing goes, but since there's been no any gray water systems that we're aware of.
but if we don't have an ordinance, we couldn't we couldn't delay any requests for a gray water system, right? Until we have an ordinance, or we would have to essentially, our hands are tied because the Central Planning Commission said that we have to have it, right?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. It sounds like there's still some questions, so we should be looking into for you.
What's your recommendation? Should we pass this ordinance for our service area and then amend the ordinance to, if we can, or?
Well, we don't have anything in the town's service area right now that's pending.
Okay,
Construction, nobody's gonna retrofit.
yeah, this isn't something you just retrofit.
Right, so
You have
this
to
would
lift
be,
the whole house up off the foundation to
Yeah.
get to the pipes to do this.
this would be,
Don't
this,
give people ideas.
this would be new construction
Yeah.
and in the town's water district,
Okay.
we don't have any. So I mean, we could, this wouldn't be,
Yeah.
we could do this in the
Tom,
next
Tom, are you
meeting, right?
comfortable pausing to see if we can do for the whole town? Are you comfortable pausing?
I kind of look at it like I'd rather move forward to protect the town right now, at least for our current water system.
Okay.
And then we could talk to Woodmore and Triview and again, push them to enact their own version of an ordinance or resolution. Well, I guess it'd be a resolution for them.
Yeah, we would probably need to amend the ordinance if we're gonna do that, right?
Because I would like it to be part of the planning directive, not directives, but planning standards. So not just an ordinance for the service area, but the town, the whole town.
You want a code adjust, a municipal code update.
Thank
to
you.
the-
That's the word I was looking for. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and that would help the planning department as well.
So maybe do an ordinance for the service area and then look to update the planning code. That might be simpler.
If our attorney comes back and says we can do that and go over, because here's the problem. I mean, I know that Woodmore covers county and town, Monument Junction, Village Center. Triview,
South of Palmer Ridge High School.
that's county.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
And Triview technically only services in their boundaries, their limit. It's within the town limit, but they manage someone else's water. I mean, we would have a hard time telling Woodmore
Yeah, Woodmore.
Woodmore is going to be problematic because they're in two different boundaries.
Yeah.
So we can't tell them what they can do in the county.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we have a commissioner here who could start drafting legislation right now for the county. But
I love giving
Pike-
them homework.
right, Pikes Peak regional building was, when you discussed with them, was there conversation about them having to start making adjustments based on this bill? Are they gonna have to come up with
It
their
didn't
own-
get that specific. What we were looking for was, are you equipped to permit this type of system, which is the same thing Fountain did? And the answer was they weren't set up to permit this. In fact, they were probably just same as us, trying to get their hands around it. Because right now they don't have an inspection permit set up for this. And since they control the plumbing code, I guess it's going to take some work on their end if it was to move in that direction.
So,
It,
Okay.
it seems to me option one, all the water providers, service providers make their own ordinance/resolution,
ordinance,
ordinance. Well,
I don't know their resolution.
They can't
well,
make an
the,
ordinance.
the Title 32 can't do ordinances, they do resolutions. And to include monument sanitation, we'll have to, so we're gonna have 69 different resolutions. And then hopefully we can also update our planning code to also say that we can't do.
Well, hold on though. We can make an ordinance within the town boundaries and it doesn't affect any of these water districts. Anything that's in the town boundaries just can't do this. That's all. The water districts can do what they want outside of that. I mean, we could just do it within the town, right? It would be like it would be like any other
Town ordinance.
town ordinance, or it'd be like any other code that's within the town boundaries. Because it's a construction thing. It's not a system thing.
I think you're right.
Right, and that would mean that the water districts couldn't override us anyway, to your
That too.
point.
Not
Right.
that they would, but it gives them cover.
Right.
They might try.
So then this thing needs to be reworded then a little. I don't know that we can
Well,
modify.
Can we just make it, can we do that?
Yes.
As far as just making it,
Within town boundaries.
yeah,
Well, you'd have to change it, you have to change, section 2 to remove within the town of Monuments water service area to just within the town of Monument. Right?
Yeah.
so just be a condition on this, and then you guys could wordsmith it later, or do we need to bring it back?
I mean, you run the risk of needing to amend it again if we're wordsmithing it, but
Okay.
I would rather us continue it and have it come up at the next meeting. Can you get that done in 2
yeah,
weeks?
I think that makes the most
Yeah,
sense.
let's do that then.
Okay.
All right, well, before we do that, it is a public hearing
Yeah,
item.
that's
Do you want me to open the public hearing first? Or can we continue it without opening it?
I think you can continue it without opening it for the next meeting.
Okay. So staff has direction.
Yeah.
To make this a townwide and make sure it's wordsmith correctly. Do I have a motion to continue?
By doing that, do we still inform the other districts what we're doing, just to give them a heads up?
Tom can.
Yeah, I mean, it's a construction issue. It doesn't affect their system at all.
So I'll make a motion to continue resolution number
Ordinance.
Thank you, sorry. Ordinance number 03/2026, an ordinance prohibiting the installation of gray water treatment works and the associated use of gray water within the town of Monuments water service area in accordance with the requirements of House Bill 24-1362 to the meeting of 16 March.
Second.
Ready, Ms. Erickson.
Councilmember Smith, are you able to vote?
Yeah, I think did it go through?
Yep, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
All right, that motion to continue has been passed 7-0. Sorry about that, Mr. Tharnish, but let's just make sure our language is
Sure.
correct. Next one, oh, you're not going anywhere. Next one up, resolution 14/2026. Resolution approving a master service agreement with Respec Company to provide construction services for our Beacon Light pipeline and tank.
Yes, the resolution you have in front of you tonight is been revised quite a bit, working a lot with the town attorney and with Mario Di Pasquale, who's here tonight. He's one of the VPs at Respect Company. And what we had some resolutions last fall that had to do with design and engineering for the pipeline and for the tank. And the pipeline got going right away because that was getting to be a lot quicker project. The tank has been delayed by the years of legal problems we've had. Anyway, we got to the point where the most comfortable place we got to was doing the design and engineering, but none of the construction services at that time, because we just didn't know the timing of things the way they were going to happen. So now we got a good handle on the tank project with everything gone, everything legally out of the way. And now we should be demoing the shed up there and the trailer and all that this week, hopefully this week. And that'll clear a clean plate for the engineers to continue their portion. But what we looked at was the original agreement, which was 3 years old and expired late last fall, is we couldn't tie the two addendums to that anymore because the original master service agreement had expired. So after talking to Mr. Cole, we thought the best approach here would be to redo a new master service agreement and combine the two projects since it's the same engineering company working on both of those to provide these construction services and observations. In your packet, the agreement, as you can see, is rather lengthy, covers everything that would be covered in a project like this. The overall cost, on the actual resolution, I broke it out as to what the cost would be for the pipeline portion and what the cost would be for the tank portion. Combine them all so that when we pass this, we have the total amount of funding to do these construction services and the observations of the project. Keep in mind, the pipeline project will most likely be done ahead of the tank because we're waiting for the design on the tank to be done so that we can go out to bid. And then that's, I want to say maybe a 9-month build, 8 to 9 month, something like that. So that's where we're at right now. This portion here should be the last of anything to do with respect. The next thing that'll come to you in hopefully the next couple of months would be a construction contract once the RFP has been bid out and we have a contractor on board to build that new tank on Monument Hill. So if you have any questions for me moving forward to this, I'll be more than happy to answer them. By the way, the total cost for this, if you add it to the other engineering work that's being done, falls within that 10 to 15, I think, I don't remember the exact percentage of what the total cost of the project is, which is typical for design and engineering.
I remember when we went through this originally, I mean, like you said, expiration and due to the unfortunate legal circumstances, those plots of land caused us.
Yes,
But that's all done now. And it
exactly.
is recorded. I remember
Yes.
signing the recorded document. I was very happy. It was quite the party.
Yeah, me too. We're pretty eager to get the demolition portion going, and we've had a guy already move some equipment up there. And hopefully within the next week or two, he'll have that knocked out.
So you'll be knocking the tank down.
No, not the tank. We're not going to knock the tank down until the new tank is in operation.
I'm just.
There's a
We
shed.
have a chance to demolish it.
Take a sledgehammer.
Take a sledgehammer.
So
to it.
we
We'll let
need,
you know when that happens. What's that?
we need that tank up there, correct?
Yes.
I mean, we have another 2 million gallon tank, but we need this one in that location, correct?
Yes, because one, it's already on land that we own. Well, now that we own the extra half acre. And elevations for us is what it's all about. It's what creates the pressure we need. So we're a gravity fed system. We only use booster pumps to push water to the tank. But once it's in the tank, everything gravity drains and creates the pressure zones around town. With the new tank out west, that 2 million gallon tank is taking the full load right now because we already cut the lines to the existing tank so that they can do the pipeline work. And so far it's holding on. Haven't had any issues. So we're eager to get going as soon as we can on the RFP for the tank. And
Is
in the
there any
meantime, the
pressure reductions operating off of the Red Rocks tank?
Is there any what?
Is there pressure reduction system wide because it's only on the Red Rocks tank?
No, I wouldn't say we've noticed too much pressure differences. What we have noticed is when we flow a hydrant for whatever reason, we see pressures drop a little quicker than we thought, but it's still manageable. It's still within our minimum 20 PSI up to where we currently operate about 78 to 80 PSI. So it's just something we didn't know how drastic the pressure would drop when we have a big demand. But again, talking to John, our water manager, he's watching that pretty closely. I mean, we track everything on SCADA. We know what our pressures are in our system at any given time. And we have alarms associated if we hit a high or a low.
Thanks.
Any other questions, comments?
Quick question. So this new service agreement, how long is this one good for?
I believe we put it in here for 3 years,
3 more. Okay. Thank you.
which kind of puts it in line with other on-call service agreements that we did a few years ago. We're trying to kind of keep them all about the same time frame. So when we go out to doing a RFQ for on-call engineering in about 3 years, we'll be able to group all that for a new batch.
Okay.
I want to ask one more quick question. Just
Sure.
so is there a benefit? Well, I know what you're going to say because costs go up every single year. And I get that. But I'm just bringing it up just because of, we're working with some budget shortfalls and hopefully that will get remedied here shortly. But is there any benefit to doing the tank up there and just utilizing the other 2 million gallon tank until such a time when revenues increase again?
Well, I'd say normally that might be a consideration, but you got to remember the current tank up there now, we're under basically the state scrutiny right now because that tank is deteriorating to the point where we had to do something and it's just taken us years to get to this point. If you rely on the one tank we have, you're putting everything in that one basket. And to me, you run a risk if you had, a major loss of water or multiple water breaks at the same time. Especially, you always plan for the worst case scenario that you have a major demand or a break and it happens on the hottest day of the year when you're already tanks down at 50%. Then you have to look at how many days of water do you have left. So not only is it, I think we need to move forward best we can. There's always also, like you mentioned, there's the problem of if you wait, the costs are only going to climb. And a lot of it's about timing when you bid this out, because a lot of contractors plan ahead 6, 9 months ahead, maybe a year ahead when they start lining up their tank projects.
What's the timeline to have the tank complete? How long would it take to?
I want to say maybe 9 months, I think, Mario. Yeah, that 9 months to a year, somewhere in that range. But this tank, one unique thing about this that we learned from the previous tank we built out west is the tank at Monument Hill is a different design. It's a different AWWA design standard that's going to allow it to be bid out to general contractors. The one up there was very specific design. There was only 2 companies that bid it because there were only 2 in the area that could have built it. And so we're limited on what we could choose. This one here is, I believe it's a D115, which doesn't really mean a lot, but it's just a different design than the one that we put out west. Same size, but just
What
constructed
material?
differently,
What material will the tank be? Concrete or
Concrete.
steel?
Concrete.
Okay, good.
which tend to have at least 50-year life, which is about where the current tank is.
Are we going to look at adding another, once we tear down the old tank, are we going to put another tank in the original location so that we have 3 tanks or no?
That's not in the long-range plan right now, unless the town was to do some major annexation and we have major demand on the system. I've been given the necktie motion, so I guess we'll
said
leave that
everything
where
you
it's
need
at.
to say, right, Mr. Tharnish? Is
If
there a
you
motion?
would vote, I could get out
Sure.
of here a lot quicker. There you go.
I'm getting the shepherd's hook over here. I make a motion to pass resolution number 14 TAC 2026, a resolution approving a master services agreement with Respect Company LLC to provide construction services to the Beacon Lite Rd pipeline project and the Monument Hill water tank project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson. And that motion passes 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This water tank thing is almost done. Yeah, but it's been 5 years. Public comment. For items not on the agenda, individuals attending in person may raise their hand to indicate their desire to comment. Individuals attending via Teams may raise their hand digitally to comment via connected devices. Please lower your hand when finished with your comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Is there anybody here in town hall that would like to come up and make public comment? Mr. Yurka, come on down.
I guess I have to fill this out.
We need to know where you live.
In the town or out of the?
I'm out of the town. I live in beautiful Palmer Lake. It's called Almost Heaven.
Oh.
You ever drive by, you'll see the sign. Anyway, it's not so much of a comment. Just a brief update on what's been happening in Palmer Lake. We recently got into a full board. We had 2 new members appointed. At our next board meeting, we hope to have a town attorney hired, at least identified to be hired. And we've contracted a outside law firm to decouple the annexation request from Monument Ridge West. So that's all I have to say.
Congratulations on completing the slots for your trustees. I know that was stressful, and it made it very difficult to get past a tie. Anybody else here?
Thanks for coming down.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Will, anybody online?
No.
Nope.
Mayor.
All right, we will close the public comment, move on to future agenda item authorizations. Ms. Vandenhoek.
Good evening, council. We do have a request from the Front Range Passenger Rail who would like to come and give the town council a presentation on March 16th. So your next council meeting.
We have one dissenter.
It's just a presentation.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no commitment. And we have a spot picked out right next to this lake to the north of us.
Lake needs a depot.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's all for tonight.
All right, any council comments?
Wow.
Wow. Any other council comments? All right.
Yes,
then,
just one thing. It's a sort of a follow-up from something that Dan brought up a while back regarding the leasing companies and their responsibilities for maintaining the roads and parking lots in the commercial areas. If we can have an update on, because I know you mentioned that you were having some struggles with getting some answers or even responses from some of the leasing companies. Nothing like by next meeting, but at the earliest opportunity, if you could provide like a quick update, because there's several on the east and west side both that are redonkulous. There's some that could really take out axles, some parking lots. So if we could get an update. Thank you. And also any recommendations of how, or if we need to get involved, or like some sort of incentives if the staff has recommendations on that as well. Thank you. Nearly lost at least one wheel, if not both. I'm in the Walgreens.
So it's personal.
Yes.
Okay. I would like to just once again publicly state a huge thank you to staff for the amazing retreat that you put on.
Yes.
Content was great. The participation was great. For those that were unable to attend, please make sure you get with Madeline to get caught up, or any one of the council members that attended. These things are just great events for us to bond at and speak a little bit more freer without having to worry about meeting etiquette per se, and time restrictions and agendas. But it was really just a privilege to continue to see the quality professional work product that comes out of staff. So thank you.
Second.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for your participation too. We really appreciate your time and efforts on those as well.
With that, if anybody would like to read us into executive session, that would be outstanding.
Sir, yes, sir. And to verify, I'm doing two separate motions, right? Because we have two. Okay, copy all. All right. First executive motion. I move that we go into executive session pursuant to 24 Tech 6 Tech 402 sub 4 sub ECRS to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiation, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators regarding a proposed economic development agreement.
Second.
Second for the first executive session.
Mr. Fiorito, you need to vote.
Send it to me again. Yeah, I said yes. I voted yes for the record.
I see that you voted no.
Right.
I'm just kidding. 7-0.
Okay, and now I make a second motion to go into executive session pursuant to section 24 Tech 6 Tech 402 sub 4 sub B CRS for a conference with the town attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions relating to El Paso County PCD file number EXBL261, administrative boundary line adjustment, and PCD file number CDR261, grading stockpile permit application, and coming out of executive back into public session following.
Second.
That motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us on a quick town council meeting, and we will take a quick recess while everybody gets set up. Okay, we are back from our executive session. We are back in open session. Any discussion from any members of the council on said referral letter to the county?
So, yeah, I think it would be advisable to give direction that have our council take a look at it, dot the T's and cross the I's, and send it off. I think it's a well-written memo. Just to Steve for But I think to get a sanity check, I think that'd be best. One last sanity check.
Everybody in agreement?
Agreed.
Yes, agree.
All right, so
Agreed.
direction is that you guys will give it the once over. Our attorneys will give it the once over. Provide it to our planning director for submission tomorrow to El Paso County as part of the case number that is related to the administrative boundary line adjustment and grading stockpile permit application. And then inform the council after that has been completed.
Cool.
Thank you
All
for
right.
doing that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
That would be it for the night. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
ordered.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're adjourned.